My name's Alon Goren. I'm one of the founders of Draper Goren Home. We invest in early stage blockchain startups. We incubate them, accelerate them as well. And it sounds a lot more official than it is for who we are, right? Because we've got the Draper name on us, and Tim is a huge supporter, and we've known him for many years. But we started off, and we still are entrepreneurs ourselves. So we started a thing called LA Blockchain Summit about 7 or so years ago, and we started basically meeting the smartest people we've ever met in our life in this space. And we started doing deals with them, not because we could afford to invest or anything, but just because we had this stage, this conference, and this thing, and we just wanted to participate. And what we do today is not that different. Like, we find companies or DAOs or individuals that are doing really, really amazing things, and we basically support them, work alongside them, and help them grow. So that's all the shilling I'm going to do on what we do. If you're an early stage startup, come hit us up. Or if you're thinking about something and you want to bounce ideas off someone, we're here. VCs in this world get kind of a bad rap, and most of the time it's for good reason. I want to say that although we are technically VCs, we're like insanely different from everyone, and we probably won't participate in 99.9, actually 100% of the type of VC rounds you hear on Twitter and things like that, because unless we participated at an early stage and we're almost at the level of co-founders, we won't participate. We're usually the first check into a company or whatever. And the reason I bring that up is because every single one of you are as qualified or more qualified than I am to be an early stage investor in a DAO or in a startup. And that's where we are today. Like, that's kind of the whole freaking point of why we're here. If you're in this space and you're interested in participating in a company, what I will say is, one, we're at like one of the best conferences in the world for that, because everyone is very open and inclusive and awesome. But don't be afraid to talk to people. Go learn what they're doing. And if you have anything that you feel you can add value on, participate. That's kind of the whole point, right? I have a great story in that my son, at the beginning of quarantine times, I think he was 7 years old at the time, was listening to me talk to a group of founders who were putting together a DAO, the guys in Prime DAO. And I think a lot of them are here today. And he was listening to me as a kid who knows what NFTs are, but like, you know, as much as you can, wanted to participate. And he's like, how do I work at Prime DAO? Because he was listening to me explain the governance process of like, first you put a proposal in, then the people vote. If enough people vote, it gets brought in and it escalates, all these things. And I'm explaining it to him, and he goes, oh, so it's like when I ran for student council at school. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, I have my Google Sheet, because everyone was doing school virtually, and he's like, I explained to, he's like, I told the class, I had a list, it said I should be a student council because, and then he made a list of the reasons why he thinks he'd be great at that job. And he literally heard this and put a proposal in place in the Prime DAO on Alchemy. He, made him do it himself, and I made him email the team members for feedback beforehand, and I didn't participate at all. I have a video of me watching him do it, like over his shoulder, because he felt like he could make NFTs. He's like, I'm gonna make a poo-poo.eth membership NFT for these people, because that's my son's thing, and he did it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the only thing that's stopping anybody else from participating is just the confidence and the guts or the gusto to do it. And as a 7-year-old, he didn't have anyone telling him like, oh, you're not a developer, you can't do this, or you're not an engineer, you can't do this. And when he asked me, I was like, of course, sure, because I'm that guy too. I'm technical enough to break shit, but I'm not as smart as most of the people, probably all the people in this room. So I bring this up because I want everyone to kind of come into the baseline of investing in this new world, that you have something to add to the table, no matter if you're a 7-year-old who's interested in making NFTs out of Legos, or you are an engineer, or you're everyone else in the world, somewhere in the middle. And so we're at this day and age, and I should look at time because I talk too much in general. Okay, we started a little early, so we're good on time. Okay, cool. Thank you. The reason why I chose not to bring my normal slide deck and my whole thing is because the crappy part of my job as a VC is kind of the same crappy part of any entrepreneur's job, which is fundraising. And so I'm constantly looking at a deck and going like, this is the reason why DGH is the most awesome VC firm in the world, and you should give us all your money. And I go through it. But this audience, I think, not that it doesn't lend to this audience, I think it wouldn't be doing you guys a service by just, shilling towards you and explaining it. But some of the things that are really, really important, because we kind of all go off the cuff and we all go kind of by our guts and by what's, what drives us, right? Like the beauty of this world is that DAOs exist now, opportunities exist, whether it's in the regulated space on crowdfunding, and I promised one of my friends that's here that I wouldn't get into how screwed up the regulation is in relation to investing, because technically, according to U.S. law, most of us, if not all of us, aren't legally allowed to be investing in a tech startup unless they jump through ridiculous, stupid hoops. But this new world exists, and if you were to participate in it at your own risk, I always tell people I don't know any different than to just kind of participate in the things that I love and I want to participate in. So, if it is a product or service that resonates with me, or I think that I wish I had, or I think would be amazing, then I engage and I learn and I do what I can. There's always these times when I meet like some of the smartest people in the world, and they come to me and go, we're doing medical records on the blockchain, and I go, I have no fucking clue. Like, I don't know how to help you. So I can't. I might introduce them to some people, but I'll tell them I'm not the right fit for you. But I want everyone to go in and realize that there is a fit for you times thousands of companies around the world, because we do live in now a borderless and global society. At least we do amongst us. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And so the reason I brought that part up is because then we can get into the nerdier stuff when it comes to data, right? And in the data, if we want to, I wanted to touch on this because the title of the talk was investing in early stage startups, which I probably should have refined a little bit. But investing in early stage startups, one of the most important things you need to do, other than the basic research and the understanding that it's an insanely hard game and it's an insanely financially risky game. We are in this world where everything goes up and to the right until it doesn't, right? And if you've been in crypto long enough, you understand and know and feel that roller coaster. But if you just came here, or you started participating and buying NFTs 9 months ago, we're all fucking geniuses, right? But it's a game of hot potato, remember that, and you can be left holding the potato at the end of the day when you play those games. So for me, I don't participate in anything unless it's very, very, very long term. I participate in the same way. I got lucky in that when I finished my first startup and it failed, the first coffee I had after it failed was with one of my previous investors, and I was expecting that investor to give me shit and go like, what went wrong? And for it to be a crappy, morning, just because of my own feelings. I felt like I let everyone down. I failed. I raised some money, and I lost the money for those people. But I got lucky in that investor saw what I was doing in the blockchain space, saw what I was doing with startups and different people, and that investor said, hey, come be a venture partner here and learn what we do here, because I think you'd learn this world. And what I learned from him is that none of the early stage VCs are investing the same way like some of our crypto trader friends. They're not expecting to buy a token and sell it in 2 months or 2 days or 20 minutes, right? They're not traders. Yes? Gesundheit. But what they're doing is they understand that if one of their startups gets an exit, the average time is 8 to 10 years. And that's if it happens. And I was lucky in having another investor one time give me a phone call. And I didn't understand this until years later, but he called me and he said, "I'm fully diversified now." And I was like, "What does that mean?" Because I was, and I think he was bragging. He was totally showing off. But he was a Goldman Sachs guy during the day, but at night he was investing in startups. And he'd write a meaningful check to all these startups. And he said, "I'm fully diversified. According to the data we gathered at Goldman Sachs, whatever, the average angel investor has to make 32 investments to break even. Because that's how many on average for the average investor fail. So you think, and he said, to his credit, he goes, "I think I'm better than average, but at least now I'm fully diversified, so I have the data on my side," because he was a math nerd, like a lot of us, and he brought that up to me. And so another thing I want everyone to think about is that we have so many opportunities in this space. I think it's stupid to go nuts and just like what investors will call spray and pray. Like, don't just like, "Hey, it's a token, I'm gonna buy one," or it's an NFT, or it's a company, I'm gonna invest in it. Don't just do it for that reason. Still, have some values, spend some time with them, and have conviction and know that the team is in it for the long haul. Because remember that 8 to 10 years. If too many of the people we meet in places like this are very, very short-sighted. Because you can be. Because, like I said, if we got in 9 months ago, we're all geniuses. Don't be that person. So don't just spray and pray, but participate in a lot of things. One, because we actually get to participate in this space, and you actually get the kind of information that usually, if you were a VC from 10 years ago, you only got that information if you literally lived, or your office was on one street in Silicon Valley called Sand Hill Road, and you're there, and you get to meet those companies, and those are the people that got the money, and those are the people that had the information, and if you didn't go there, you had like a 10x harder path, right? But it's not that anymore. As an investor, you get to compete with those people, and we beat those people to the deals every single time. Because those people they have billions of dollars, so they have all sorts of asymmetrical opportunities for them too. I'm not like saying we're better than them or whatever, or they're better than us or whatever, but remember, we're here, boots on the ground. We meet our friends in the hallways, and we have an opportunity to participate first. Those guys have billions of dollars, and it doesn't make economic sense for them to write the size checks or to send the amount of ETH that we would participate in a DAO or a deal. So they participate way after us. So this is this flip that's happening right now that's really, really exciting from the investment space, right? Like, if we're participating here and one of these companies on the sponsor list or one of these DAOs eventually gets to the size and stage where they feel like they need to raise those tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from those VCs, we got there first. We got that asymmetrical opportunity that maybe those angels could have got if they're in Silicon Valley or maybe in LA or anywhere around the world, right? Because if we go back to those rules and laws I'm going to try not to focus on, it used to be that you had to be a millionaire to participate. And it still is for a lot of deals in a lot of situations, and don't break the law if you're a startup raising money, because it will not work out very well for you, and you should do what's right. I'm trying to, because it's recorded, I'm trying to be real careful, but you shouldn't. You should push the limits, but you should have a lawyer and you should do things right, especially if you're an American citizen and you have these archaic rules and laws that we don't agree with, but we have to comply with. The beauty of it is there's technology today that can help you overcome some of that stuff. You could raise money from people who aren't millionaires, or you could do what a lot of companies are doing, which is super unfortunate, and maybe be based in a different country or place. But going back to the checking timing. Okay, we're still good, right? Okay. So going back to the investing side of things, we now have the information that, you know, you couldn't get before because of the internet, because you could actually meet the founding teams no matter where they are in the world. You can actually understand the product. If it's a DAO, you can actually participate in the governance in a way that was never able to be done before. You know, back in the day, people would argue with me when they were investing in my company that they wanted a board seat, and I didn't really understand it at the time. But basically, they wanted the type of control that every single one of us has when we participate in a DAO today. They just want a seat at the table. And we have that now. And we have a way to organize with the other investors, with the other participants, and discuss it and argue it and talk about things in a way that's just never been done before. The one thing I want to say about that particular topic is to be careful when there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And we're, you know, I mentioned Prime DAO earlier. They're actually doing a ton of these things called DAO to DAO. They're doing DAO to DAO relations and organizations and helping people do things and communicate and do partnerships within groups. But a big part of what they're doing is trying to make governance more more efficient, right? And actually more, I want to say usable, but usable is not the right word. What we've learned in organizations in this space, the first sort of go-round, was that these flat organizations that didn't have an org chart and didn't have a boss, although it felt really good because I could be there next to my friend and throw an arm around them and we're all on the same level playing field, meant there was no boss saying, like, get shit done. And unfortunately, either we're ingrained and used to it, or there just isn't an accountability in those kind of organizations that has been baked in until very recently. And so what I want to say is that be careful that some of these groups in their organizations don't have a direction. It doesn't mean that they have to have a leader that's an ass and says get shit done, like the way I was saying it. They shouldn't. They should hopefully have a benevolent founder or person who's equal to them on the same level playing field and doing things right. But be careful of those DAOs and those groups that spread out their ownership, spread out their governance amongst lots of people, and then because too many people are involved or they don't have that accountability baked in, there just isn't progress. Like there's so many times you meet with these groups and you go like, well, what's happened since the last time I met you? And not much. And that's the worst thing that can happen, because as an investor on my day job side of things, and I have to do things responsibly, and I'm investing other people's money because I'm not a millionaire myself, I have to do my research, I have to do my due diligence, I have to understand what's going on. And the best way to understand that a company is on the right track, or a DAO is on the right track, or a person is on the right track, is that there's progress. And I could go, they can follow up with me and say, hey, remember last time I told you I was going to do this thing? We did it and it failed. Or we did it and it worked better than we thought. Or we did it and we learned that users don't give a crap about the thing they told us they wanted. They're actually using this other thing and we're going to build that. But as long as there's progress, there's movement, there's evolution. And that's probably the number one most important metric to look for in when you're trying to back a founder. Now, I know a lot of you are engineers or founders yourselves, most of you, but you also almost all raised your hand as investors, so that made me really, really happy. But I wanted you to kind of look at some of the things I'm thinking about from that perspective, because when you come to pitch to us, I want you, I will say I'm a terrible negotiator with startups because everyone knows exactly how I feel. Because if I'm stoked, I'm stoked. And if I don't understand, I'll tell people I don't understand. I'm not the blank-faced VC style guy that goes, this is a terrible idea. I think you should cut the valuation in half so I could get a better deal. Well, if they want to write you a check, they don't think it's a terrible idea, so don't be an asshole. But I've seen too many of those, and that's what gives many of them a bad name. Now, I know that I got on stage a couple minutes early. Said most of the things I want to say.